a lot of people kind of know you for this crazy world record that you hold.
I saw someone else do it and I was very interested in it. I was like, oh my God, that's unbelievable. I couldn't believe it.
If you had to allocate like a percentage to how much of this is physical and how much of it was mental, what would you say it would be?
Well, my body gave up on me 4 hours in. So like it was 20 hours of voices in my head.
You're in hour 13 of 24. What's your mental mindset telling yourself and how do you combat that?
Your why has to mean something so deep to you. Otherwise, there would be no reason for you to take one more step.
Yeah.
And if you have given up, it means your why is not strong enough. After finishing something so amazing, I don't think I sat with myself long enough. I was like ready to go again. It's not enough. I need to do more. I don't think I realized how mentally struggling I was in a really bad mental headspace. You can really achieve anything if you really have your mindset in check.
All right, balancers, today's guest is a lovely woman. I'm excited to get to know a little bit further. We've actually only had a very brief interaction, but I can already tell that your energy and my energy, there's a good fit, there's a good match here. You've achieved some really interesting things that I'm excited to ask you about and just really understand your mindset a little bit deeper. So without further ado, today's guest is Lily Collyer. She is an online wellness fitness coach and also PT here in Dubai. Welcome, Lily, to the show. It's nice to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited to be here.
Likewise. Now, you mentioned to me before, a lot of people kind of intro you or know you for this crazy world record that you hold. Mm-hmm. In fact, it's something I have questions.
Yes,
okay.
100%, I'm sure.
So you hold the max amount of burpees in 24 hours. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about the challenge.
Yeah.
Like, what was the day you decided you were going to do this challenge?
Yeah. Someone has actually broken it now above mine, which is absolutely fine. I feel like I had my fair share of burpees in my lifetime now.
I feel like it's still an accolade either way. you can still hold it.
I know. I mean, I achieved it. I didn't just do it once. I did it twice.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So first time was for charity.
Yeah.
And I did this like when I was 3 or 4 months into Dubai. So I just moved here and every year I do something for charity for my birthday. So I decided to do 24 hours of burpees. I saw someone else do it and I was very interested in it. I was like, oh my God, that's unbelievable. I couldn't believe it.
Is this like, does an association run this, you opt in, or you just do it yourself?
No, I just did this for charity, just myself.
Okay.
And with like 6 weeks training, I couldn't believe, now looking back on it, unbelievable that I did that.
Crazy.
With such a short amount of training period. So I did that for charity and that was in May 2022.
Mm-hmm. And what was the record number?
I broke the record.
Yeah.
That's how the record came, the actual record, the official one.
What was the number?
So I did like 7,200 or something.
Wow.
So actually more than my second attempt.
Wow.
My second attempt I did because I broke the world record. I couldn't believe it. So loads of people were messaging me, but it didn't really sink in until weeks later. Mm-hmm. People were like, you do realize you broke the world record. I was like gasping. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, I actually did. So like if I took myself back to when I first did it, I didn't believe in myself that I would do it. I just wanted to do it once. That's it. Just say I've done it, finished. That's an achievement in itself.
100%.
But then I broke the world record. I couldn't believe it. And it just proves that you really should believe in how strong and powerful you can be if you just put in the work and get it done. So yeah, I broke the world record and then I did it again for the second time in November 2022. And
again for charity?
I didn't do it for charity. I just did this one for Guinness World Record.
Okay.
So that's when I put all my application in. My application got accepted. I was like, right, let's go. So I trained for 4 months for it. I actually trained for this one. And I broke the world record again.
Amazing. Now I want to know, you're training for 24 hours of burpees. Like, what does training for that look like?
Yeah.
Are you doing like, I'm just imagining like one day is 1 hour, 2 hours. Is it infinite burpees or is it more conditioning around the actual move?
It was both. I did do conditioning around the move. Obviously, I had to make sure my shoulders, my hips, everything, my hamstrings were all in a good place to be able to repetitively like continue that movement for 24 hours. So I had to make sure that my body was prepared. But it was also, it's like a marathon. You need to kind of earn the right to run that that amount. So you can't just go ahead and run a marathon. Your body will be broken after. But you also need to earn how much time you're spending on your feet when you're running. So I had to earn how many burpees I could do before doing 24 hours. So for my actual training, I did 12 hours of burpees. That was the hardest, probably harder than 24 hours, because I'm by myself. I had no one around me. I was just doing 12 hours of burpees in the gym one morning, 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. That was for training.
Like, is this like once a week, twice a week?
No. That I only did that once because I was like, if I can do 12 hours, I can double that. I can do 24 hours. Yeah. So I was like, that I had to do that just to get a feel for it. Yeah. Like to really understand like where I'm going to be reaching when it gets really hard, and what I'm going to be talking to myself, how I'm going to be talking to myself, what feeling I'm going to have when it gets really hard. Am I going to be telling myself, this is it, like I can't continue anymore? Or like the conversations, it was more like to dive in deeper in that way rather than just do 12 hours of burpees. Yeah.
If you had to allocate like a percentage to how much of this is physical and how much of it was mental, what would you say it would be?
Well, my body gave up on me 4 hours in. So like it was 20 hours of voices in my head. Like I get goosebumps, literally goosebumps thinking about it, because again, I did this twice. So the second time I was doing it, honestly, the voices were stronger than the first, of course, because the first I had no goal. I had nothing to aim for. I just wanted to do it once. Accidentally broke the world record. But then the second time was the pressure of, okay, you have to do it. So yeah, it was 20 hours of voices screaming in your head, why are you doing this again? Why did you like need to do this again? Who are you trying to prove yourself to? What do you need to prove? Like you already did it once, but yeah, it's pushing past those points.
So in terms of like, you obviously did it once, then you did it a second time. There's undeniably a physical component of training and preparation.
Oh, yeah.
I'm interested to know, did you do any mental prep other than conditioning yourself when you were actually doing those long hours and training? Was there anything you did outside of that for your mindset that really helped you?
That's a good question, because I wasn't, believe it or not, dialed in as I am now to mindset. Like I was like, yeah, this will build my mindset. I wasn't like dialed into what you do around to actually help your mindset. Now I'm like way more stronger with my visualization, with how I speak to myself, things like that, how I'm prepping my like body physically, but mentally on that side. So like keeping calm in the situations where you really want to quit. Now I know how to do that now. But before I was like, nope, if I just do it, I'll get it done. Like, I don't know where I found my mental strength from, because I didn't practice that. I just put myself through physical strength. That builds my mental strength. So, I mean, it does come hand in hand, but I feel like really dialing into your mindset changes the whole game.
I mean, you had to have some sort of mental fortitude going into that. So I'm sure there's some natural underlying resilience you naturally have, or at least held going into it. I know now you're prepping for a new marathon. So now with this, I guess, evolved version of yourself, you're a little bit more dialed into your mindset. Aside from the training, now is there anything different you're doing to prepare for these kind of large, really mentally stretching challenges you're putting yourself through? Is there anything you're doing around that now?
Focusing on why I'm actually doing this. What was the reason I was doing it before? Why did I do that? I'm questioning now, even still to this day, like, who was I really trying to prove myself to? And I feel like this comes a lot and stems a lot from my childhood and childhood traumas and things that you go through as a child, like things you were told to by your teachers as well. Like it's really high in my head right now, or in this phase of my life that I'm in, like how I was spoken to when I was young, and why it's reflecting on my actions these days, which kind of like answers my questions as to why I did my 24 hours of burpees. But now I'm going into a completely different perspective, because I didn't know. I mean, I really didn't know the kind of view I was going to get, like the attention I was going to get at that time. So it was quite overwhelming for me. But now I'm understanding, like when you go to do something, or when you go into doing something like this, you can gain a lot from it if you utilize it well. So why I'm really doing it, I'm doing it to challenge myself again, of course. What I'm going to do, how I'm going to use that attention, let's say, post I want to help as many people as I can. And obviously that's my job. That's what I want to do. But I want to make sure I utilize that in the correct way. Like, you can really achieve anything if you really have your mindset in check. So,
And thinking about that in a very proactive way, right? Like before it happens. Do you mind taking us through some of the things that were said to you as a child that have really stuck with you? I mean, I've spoken about it on the show with a lot of different people, and we all experience this in the form of like limiting beliefs, right? So what we learn and what we hear growing up as kids imprints on us as beliefs about ourselves, and that really dictates the frame in which we see the world. If you're okay to share, I'd love to hear what maybe some of those beliefs were, because that maybe gives us a bit more context as to the challenges you faced mentally when you were going through this like challenging experience.
Yeah, so a lot, it stemmed from, to be honest, like school. You get put in grades, don't you? Like, you get put in like sets, certain sets. Like there's top sets and there's like the really clever academic people there. I never saw those sets. I was always like in the really low sets. I mean, I suffer with dyslexia as well. So suffer, I think that's a bit of an extreme word. But yeah, I have dyslexia as well, in the sense that like I was always told that you need to do well here, otherwise you will not do well in life. Always, as a kid, you need to do well. You need to get these grades. You need to go to college. You need to go to university. Do you need to? I mean, it's amazing if you really know what you want to do. But I think being told as a child this is so detrimental to how you view life now, or how you view success now. Because, I mean, still I suffer with limiting beliefs. I mean, still to this day, it's a battle, and it's like truly going in within yourself and trusting who you are and what you're putting out. So yeah, I guess I had to like world my way around my life solo, like no support, not much support, and just brought myself to where I am now, being able to achieve things that I thought was impossible. So yeah.
I think what you've just described and what you've shared is actually quite a universal experience, because school is a very rigid way of testing people. Now, I sit on the other side of the camp where I did very well at school because the way I perform and like to do things tick the boxes with the school system.
Yeah.
And when I reflect on it now, school trains us to be cogs in the wheels. Basically, like, can you learn something, reproduce it, regurgitate it in the way that they've told you to do it, and therefore you are smart or you're intelligent. And it is such a niche and very specific way to calculate intelligence.
Yeah.
And so you have a pool of kids or a whole generation of people. And I observed this after school when I used to tutor. So when I was early in uni, I used to go back and I would tutor year 11, year 12 for their final exams. And we would meet kids and you can tell that they're intelligent. You can tell they're street smart. They're very creative. But in the box that school puts them in, they're not creative. And a byproduct of that is they don't think they're intelligent, and they're told by society and by that final number you get, that one single number, that you're not successful.
Yeah.
And that is a knock-on effect, right?
100%.
You can't apply for uni, which is the path you're meant to follow, et cetera, et cetera. I think now it's really interesting the time we live in where people can make money in such different ways. And I think this next generation has that lateral thinking, right? They can see the different opportunities.
100%.
But I think there's a lot of us in this generation, and I kind of feel, I mean, it's interesting. We've had very different kind of
Backgrounds.
experiences.
Yeah.
But I too feel the pain of that, because I'm now like breaking away from that. I'm trying to do a podcast, which you can't go to uni for.
Yeah.
It's not a quote unquote profession, whereas I studied to be a lawyer. And so doing something like this really goes against the grain of what I was told to do in the path of success. So I'm fighting that in a very different way too. For you, with that belief that you held, how did that filtrate into your why when you were doing your first challenge? Because you did share with me before we kind of jumped on the show that your why for the first challenge upon reflection was, you know, you just reflected on it and you noticed some things about it, right?
100%. Yeah, so I still question why. What was I doing it for? Who was I trying to prove myself to? I often find myself getting caught up. I used to, not so much now. I'm feeling now, after a very mature journey, that I'm a lot more fulfilled within my life. And my boyfriend, I remember when I first met him, I was all over the place. And I was a very loud person, very loud, very like, I don't want to say like attention grabber, but now I look back, I would just walk in to any place and you'll know I'm there. But I hate that. I hate that I was like that. I hate that I continued to have to try and prove myself to who.
So do you feel like that was like you were overcompensating, or like how do you reflect on that now?
Like, I think, like I was again going back to childhood and what being said when you were young, as like from teachers or whoever, you won't do well, like you won't succeed, you won't be seen, kind of thing. And I think that's why I was for a long time like that, very loud Lily. But then just like as I went on my journey, as I went on to like my healing and fixing everything inside, going deeper inside myself, I just became the most, like, such a calm person. Like I didn't feel the need to go and speak to loads of people when I entered the gym or wherever I was going into. So yeah, I think fulfillment and contentment of where you are and going in very deep in towards yourself and accepting some things, asking yourself some questions is so important to really figuring out who you are and who you want to become.
That's beautiful. I'm interested to know, so you've had this reflection on your why before and how it relates to maybe some limitations you grew up with. You've done the challenge and you've broken the record. Immediately after that, you said you had a lot of attention and it was almost like this big thing was done and dusted. How did you feel in that moment?
So overwhelmed. Like I was also not in the best place at that time as well. After finishing something so amazing, I don't think I sat with myself long enough to really reward myself. I was like ready to go again. I want to do it again. I want to chase that high. Like it's like such a huge dopamine hit. Like, and it was like, it's not enough. I need to do more. I need to do another thing. Like, I can't believe how impressed people are by it. Let's do another one. And I was very injured post world record. Like my spine took a huge hit. For 8 months, I was really struggling with training. So post achieving something so amazing, not sitting with myself long enough, not going through the right protocols to recover, chasing for the next thing, it was like 8 months of really severe, like I was down for a long time because I couldn't then do what I love to do, which was training. I couldn't even move like in the way that I wanted to move. So yeah, it was like really hard hitting. Yeah.
So by the time you did it for the second time, do you think like mentally you had evolved and made these shifts and changed your why and really sat with it after? Or were you still in that process of really like grasping those things?
No. I wasn't anywhere near that process. I was like, I don't think now looking back, I don't think I realized how mentally struggling I was. I was in a really bad mental headspace. Other reasons as well, like other, not just what I just achieved, but like personal reasons, loads of personal things was going on at that time as well. I mean, people understood. People were like, your energy is different. Like, and that used to hurt my feelings so much. I was like, why? I couldn't understand why my energy was different. But I was just, I was very like in a space where I needed to jump into to heal. And I wasn't even in those, like healing. I was like, wow, that sounds very spiritual. I'm not sure if I need to dive into that. But sit with your feelings, which I think is the hardest thing. We always try to escape. We always try to run away through training, through holidays, through drinking, anything that you want to try and do, escaping from how you're really feeling. But it's important to sit and feel everything, feel your feelings in order to go through the feelings.
100%.
And
yeah, it's crazy when you think about how distracted you can make yourself feel. I mean, just
it's amazing short term.
Yeah, I mean, just scrolling on Instagram, think of the pace of that, right? It's like instant dopamine hits over and over and over and over again. It's so easy to opt out. It's harder to sit in and do the work. So I definitely hear you. So now then, tell me about this new challenge you're training for. I've heard it in the grapevine, what you're working on, and I'm like, this is equally as like wild to me. By the way, 30 seconds of burpees for me is like my worst nightmare. So I'm extremely impressed, not only at the physical fortitude, but mental fortitude. So it's incredible that you've done that twice. This next one you're working on is equally as impressive. So can you tell me a little bit about that challenge?
Yeah.
And how now all your learnings are really like supporting this next physical challenge that you're pushing yourself in?
I personally think it's way harder than 24 hours of burpees because I'm not a runner. I only started running not even a year ago, to be honest, like consistently running. It would be like the odd 5Ks here and there. I ran my first marathon ever in January.
Which is how far?
42 kilometers, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, 42 kilometers. So I ran that in January, and I did that with near to no training because I got an injury.
Wow.
So I signed up to it November last year. Yeah. And then I was like, I'm going to train for 3 months. It's fine. And then run it in January. I got injured after like 6 weeks of training. So I did no training, no running for 6 weeks. I was like, no, I'm not going to run the marathon. And I went to sleep one evening, woke up the next morning after dreaming about finishing this marathon. I hadn't trained for 6 weeks. So I was like, I need to run this marathon. So I just got up, and that was on the Friday morning. And then I got up on the Sunday, which was the marathon day, and I just ran this marathon with no training off the back of it. And I was like, oh my God, this was genuinely the hardest thing. I was on my feet for 5 hours. It took me 5 hours to run. And it was so difficult. And I was like, running is just different.
Yeah,
like
it's so different to any other type of fitness.
I respect run. I mean, I know marathon runners, they endure their body, like they train their body to be able to run those. But everyday people run as well. Like everyday people just running these marathons for a reason, for a charity, for something to push themselves. Like I'm amazed. Like I wouldn't say I'm an everyday person, but I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. But it was really difficult. So I was like, I'm never running again after that. I was like, I don't want to do it. And then it took a few months, like just to do my normal training. You have to take that time, I think, to fall in love and to realize that normal training is not for you. You can do the generic bodybuilding, which is amazing, but I'm always chasing the next endurance event, the next thing that I want to do. I mean, I've had 2 years off of challenges now. I'm pushing my body past those limits, but now I think I'm ready. So my next challenge, I'm going to be running from Abu Dhabi to Dubai.
How far is that?
That will be 100 kilometers. It'll be just over 100 kilometers. So I found a little shop in Abu Dhabi. I'm not going to run from Abu Dhabi city centre because that's 120 kilometers. And I think that 20K is just pushing it a little bit too much.
Yeah. Yeah, hundreds.
Yeah,
do 100, not 120.
But I found a little shop, and it's a flower shop, and it's called Lily in Abu Dhabi.
Wow.
So I'm going to start from there. And I'll finish at the Lab Studios, which is where I work, yeah.
And do you run on the highway? Like, what's the path there?
I mean, I'm hoping to be able to.
Yeah.
I'm going to get permission.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be like all planned out. I mean, I haven't planned. I'm very much, I wing everything. But I do actually want to plan this. I want to find some good sponsors who want to support me and create this and make an event of it.
Amazing.
And document it. So yeah, that's what I'm on the hunt for right now. And I think I'm a bit nervous to announce it because I haven't found all of that yet. But I guess you can't have all your puzzle pieces. You just have to kind of go for it.
And, it's like an energy thing. You put it out there and whatever sticks will stick.
I'm
and
hoping.
If anyone's listening that is interested to sponsor, please reach out to Lily as well.
Please, yeah. No, it'll be amazing. So yeah, let's hope.
Amazing. Well, I have like a challenge / question for you. You're going to do this 100K Abu Dhabi to Dubai. You're going to achieve it. How are you going to celebrate that achievement for yourself? Because one thing that my husband's really taught me that I really want people to start doing for themselves is to plan how you're going to celebrate the milestones. And that could even be like you've done 50% of your training. You've done 75%. You've started your training, like celebrating the milestones. But this is a big one, right? This is like a milestone thing in your life. How are you going to celebrate?
I really love what you just said, by the way. That really hit me in my heart. Like, I think it's so important because you're always, and us as humans, or those that want to strive and constantly striving for more, you don't do it enough. You don't give yourself enough credit. And I think it's so important. And I love what you just said. So yeah, I haven't thought that far ahead. So I'm going to be doing it in between my dad's birthday and my boyfriend's birthday. So between the 9th and the 15th, I'll choose a date in between that. And after that, I'll take the rest of the year off. So for 100%, I will go away with my boyfriend and definitely celebrate that. But even like going off the back of what you just said, I said it to him. I mentioned it to him before I left for this podcast. And I was like, by the way, I think we need to take a break and every 3 months from Dubai, or every 3 months and go on a trip. It doesn't have to be anywhere crazy, or when it's winter here, obviously it's a lot nicer. So anyway, and I think taking that, obviously they're not celebrations, they're not milestones, but taking those quarterly like breaks out of what you're striving for and what you're constantly aiming for, because you can get caught up. I mean, people say you get caught up in the rat race as 9 to 5, but there was also a rat race here. Like everyone's always striving for more. Everyone's always striving to succeed at the most. And you need to calm down sometimes. You need to take that really physical and mental break, even if it's just for a few days. So I guess it's not the same as celebrating a milestone, but taking that time away to celebrate what you've achieved so far in that first quarter, I think will be so beneficial. So we're starting that after my challenge.
I love it. Yeah. Beautiful. And I guess like I can tell you're a high performer character, and most of the people listening would also, I think, put themselves in that category. And I think there's a delicate balance between this being a trait that creates a lot of success and gives you a lot of opportunities, and it also making you feel like it's never enough, right? And so finding that balance, whether it be through celebrating your wins, through taking breaks and recharging, through really connecting with your why, are so important to keep that journey intentional and keep you moving, I always say, in a sustainable way. Like I used to look at these things as, well, if I'm doing anything but my goal, I'm wasting time. Like, why would I take 100%. Any time away from it? And it was this really like nervous energy around it. Whereas now I'm like, I'm going to be able to embrace these things more as they come up, show up in my everyday life, show 100%. Up on my podcast better if I make time for these things that recharge me and fulfill me. So I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, 100%.
So now for you, what is your why with these big challenges? You know, you've kind of come from starting them in a very different place where you were very different and struggling with different things. You've now grown and evolved as a person. Of course, you still have things you're working through yourself, but what is your why now with these big challenges? Because I mean, I'll tell you now, I won't have a dream about running a marathon and do it. So I want to know for you, what's your why now?
Yeah, I still question a lot. I'm still to this day figuring out why I want to, or why I want to push but it's because I know I can. I'm capable, so why not, kind of thing. But I guess I want to help so many more people than I've helped already. And I want to build that community and really make women understand that you are able to achieve really anything if you just dive in a little bit deeper to your mindset. Even if it's like, it doesn't have to be what I'm doing. Running your first 5K is amazing. Running is hard. Like, I don't want anyone to ever think that it's just a 5K. This person did way, way more than me. Like, it's not. You did that and you have achieved that. And no one knows your background. No one knows where you've come from. No one knows what you've been through. So I think, helping women to better understand their bodies and their minds and whirling it in together, like bringing it together.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think you're setting a beautiful example, and it's very inspiring, by the way, to just understand that you can tap in deeper to your mindset and really push yourself. Could you say that the things or the is it strategies or tools that you have in those moments where your inner voice gets to you that you utilize? Because I find it really interesting, the experience you've got. Like, obviously it's quite an extreme example of it, right? Like you're in hour 13 of 24 of burpees. Like, what's your mental mindset telling yourself and how do you combat that? But we all deal with that in varying degrees day to day. When we're trying something new, when we're pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zone, when we're just thinking about doing something different. So can you categorize how you actually deal with that in the moment into any strategies or tools that people can actually take away and start thinking about?
I mean, okay, so there's different types of, I'll dive in to first to the mindset that I was going through when I was doing my burpees. Or like, if you're wanting to do a challenge, I just hit the mic, sorry. So if you're wanting to do a challenge, your why, whatever that why is, I don't know what your reason is, has to mean something so deep to you. So whatever you're looking to achieve, you have to make sure it digs deep into the heart as to why you are doing it. Otherwise, there would be no reason for you to take one more step. Yeah. There would be no reason. They'd easily give up. And if you have given up, it means your why is not strong enough. It means the meaning behind what you're doing isn't purposeful enough for you to carry on. So my why during my burpees or during my world record, I mean, there was no option. I didn't give myself an option. I was already visualizing finishing. I was already visualizing the feeling this was my mindset. You just have to do this for one day. You can then sit on the sofa for one day. You can then just eat for one day, sit in the shower for one day. Like, you can do anything. Out of your whole lifetime, one day is not a lot. That was how I was viewing it. You can relax after this. You never have to put yourself through this again if you just do this once. I mean, I know I did it twice, but
in the moment we didn't know that.
In the moment we're just thinking of that. So yeah, that's kind of my mindset on that. But like daily struggles and daily mental challenges that I face, which I still face a lot. I mean, I still have voices inside my head every day. So how I manage that and utilize that, I've been listening to 538 is Hertz music, like the frequency.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful. That calms me so much. I've been listening to that a lot recently. So I felt like that has calmed my mind a lot, because you're not listening to I'm so overstimulated by music. You think, I mean, as a fitness coach as well, teaching classes all the time, in your car, listening to music all the time. Like, I'm so overstimulated by music sometimes that you just have to listen to just such calming, and that's really calmed my thoughts and my mind. But also writing. I know it's quite cliche, but write down your thoughts, write down how you're speaking to yourself, come away from it, and then look back, and then why am I being so nasty to myself? Why am I being so hard on myself? Sometimes you really got to look at how you're speaking to yourself, because if it's in your mind, it will sit on your shoulders. It will sit there until you release it in some way, whether that be in an argument or something. So yeah, I think writing and calming the mind. I haven't quite grasped meditation yet. Do you meditate?
I do. And to be honest, when you were just sharing the fact that you listen to that, the frequency sounds, I think that is a form of meditation.
I mean, yeah,
and
exactly.
I feel one thing I've learned just through speaking to so many people on the show is there are many forms of meditation. So there's active meditation where a lot of people get in a trance when they're just stretching, or maybe they're dancing, they're doing something they love, and you can get into that flow meditative state. It's not necessarily this sit cross-legged with your hands on your knees and be 100%. Quiet. It can be guided meditations. It can be many different forms. Visualization is a form of meditation. But yes, I do meditate. I used to do it. I used to only do guided meditations. And then I had, do you know Kelsey Wells?
Yes, I've heard of her.
Yes, big fitness.
Yes, I've heard of her.
She's part of the Sweat app. I had her on the show, and she challenged me to do non-guided, to just sit there for 10 minutes with the sole intention of just observing what's happening, right? How am I feeling? What am I hearing? It's just you're existing and experiencing, and you just need to observe that. There's no agenda. You don't need to be, what's this thought? Why am I having it? Why am I not speaking nicely? It's just observing, just so you're aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
Because like you said before, we're so distracted all the time. We're so dopamine overloaded all the time.
Yeah.
Unless you take the time to observe, whether it be through writing out what's in your head or just sitting there and looking at it as like it's as though it's not you, how are you to know what's going on? And I think this is a really key part of understanding yourself better. And genuinely, it's an important part of me connecting with myself. And I just think if I can take that time to just tune in and connect, and just, it's like I'm just vibe checking with myself. Like, how are we going today? Like, and they, you know, they say the people that say that they can't sit there and meditate are the ones who need it most, because you just need to get comfortable doing nothing and just observing yourself and just checking in with how you're feeling, whether it's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whether you have, I always found it easier to think about my morning routine and what would be an easy time to do it. So some people get transport to work, right? Maybe they're going to always sit there for 5-10 minutes while they're waiting instead of scrolling on your phone. Just take in your surroundings and check in with yourself. Maybe, you know, you just have that break in your day where it's like quite routine, and you can just stack it onto that. But yeah, that has been quite an important part. But what I really love about what you've said that I think is really important as a starting point before you start thinking about tools and strategies for when it gets hard is your why. Because that is like, if 50% of it was your why, the other 50% of the strategies. And you're absolutely right. Like, if your why isn't strong enough, you're not going to, why would you do something difficult if it doesn't mean anything to you?
Exactly. Right? Like, there's no reason for you to take another step. That's why I was like, because I was umming and ahhing about this 100K. I can't remember what gave me the feeling, but it's my visualization is extremely strong. And that creates a feeling, actually. When you visualize, it creates a feeling inside you. And now I'm not as nervous to say it out loud. I mean, before I was like, I don't know whether to tell people yet. Even telling my boyfriend, I was like, I think I'm going to do it. Do you think I could do it? He's like, yeah, you can do it. And I was like, and now I've just started telling myself, it's just another run. It's just another run. Just going to go out for another run.
Yeah.
That's all I'm telling myself. So yeah, I feel like I've finally feeling it, which is rare because I haven't had that feeling for such a long time. And it's such a nice feeling when it means something to you, because as I said, there's no reason for you to carry on. So, and before I was like trying to set myself like little challenges, like, yeah, I can do this and I can do that and I can do that. But I never even stuck with it. I mean, I may have announced like some smaller challenges like on my Instagram, but never went through with it. And I was like, I didn't really even go, because it didn't mean anything to me. Like, what was the reason why I was doing it? But now, yeah, I guess I've gone in with a completely different perspective. So that why will be what keeps you going.
100%. And the only thing I'll add to that is sometimes we feel it, but we can't like describe the why, right? And sometimes your why can just be for that feeling, right? A sense of accomplishment, giving back, whatever it is. It's just something you genuinely want to do. If you feel it, that feeling, that's your why, right? And that's where the strength comes from. For some people, sometimes, like you said, it's for charity or something's happened and they want to do it because of something else. But I think if you have that feeling, that's one of the hardest things to connect with sometimes. So you're almost doing it you're reverse engineering your why, and that's a very powerful thing. Lily, I want to thank you so much for coming on today, being vulnerable, being open, sharing with me some of your most challenging experiences, and just expressing kind of, I guess, the vulnerability behind what you've been through. And I think it's important for people to hear, because, you know, we see people achieve amazing things, but when we hear the backstory and what it actually took, I find that very personally empowering. For people listening that want to connect with you, follow along your journey, see what other challenges you have in the pipeline, was the best place they can go. And I'll put some links in the show notes.
Yeah. It will be just my Instagram page. So just Lily Collyer. That's where you'll find me. I'm hoping to document this again on YouTube, because I did document my journey to Guinness World Record. And my video went viral. It got like 500,000 views. So I was like extremely shocked at that as well. But I never continued on after that just because of mental reasons. But I'm hoping to document that and show my whole journey again through YouTube. So yeah, I'm hoping to.
Amazing. Well, I'll put links to your YouTube channel as well.
Yes.
I will be cheering you on and, you know, really proud of you for everything you've achieved and everything you're going to achieve. I'm really excited to keep watching your journey. So thank you so much for your time and your energy today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All the best with the run.
Thank you.
If you guys have enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes.